taking the White House. But the blunt reality is Republicans feel buoyed in the congressional ranks. They feel, Willie, that they move into 2021, regardless of who sits at that resolute desk in the Oval Office, emboldened, empowered, that if it's Vice President Biden becomes president of the United States, this is a congressional Republican party.
All right, my fourth live show since I think it was the first time I did it, like 2 something. All right, I'm not going to do this one as long as last time because I am getting tired. But like I said, if you're just joining for the first time and you weren't on earlier, completely want this to be nonpartisan. It's not about I love Trump, I hate Trump, I love Biden, I hate Biden. It's about just talking about where we're at, discussion, facts, etc. People maybe have been sleeping, they don't want to watch the news. I'm not trying to say I'm like 1,000,000% expert, but I'm pretty good. I follow this stuff. I've been talking to lots of people throughout the night, whether it's been, political sources or people that are nonpartisan reporters, obviously the people that set the odds. And I just wanted to kind of see or explain where I'm at. And also the important part of this, which is where there's going to be a lot of people that are really upset. And that's the way, we know elections have consequences. We know elections have winners and losers. And I've said this throughout the entire night, it's the most important thing I can say, is that whether you support Trump or Biden, we're all Americans, and we're not going to get anywhere if we don't try to listen to each other. There's obviously people on both sides that might never want to do that, and that's unfortunate. I'm not someone like that. I think if you know me, if you listen to me on 97.1, my task force shows, know me personally, whatever, that I'm always trying to bring people together. That's the only way I know how to be. It's the way I was raised by my great parents. And I've always kind of tried to explain and use the analogy of if you're always yelling at each other, you never listen, and that you can hate President Trump, you can hate Joe Biden. I don't try to hate anybody. And you can't hate the people that support them, because that is just, what's the point? It's chaos. But just to kind of let everyone know where we're at, and maybe some of you are just waking up and the first thing you saw is me and not the news. This is the bottom line of where the race has been over the last, 8 o'clock? Jesus. I'm 5 monsters in. Everything, while many of you were sleeping from like 2:33 in the morning after Biden and Trump spoke, has completely flipped. And it's a reverse in a way of what happened in 2016. And it's a reverse of what happened at the beginning of the night last night at 8 o'clock when Florida had a big Biden lead and Trump caught all the way up and won Florida. And same thing in North Carolina, which hasn't been called yet. But, the states that were able to count their early vote weeks or days before, when other states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin weren't allowed to until election day. So what happened is it really kind of started, and I talked about this in my last previous shows when we started going live. The New York Times had this needle. They had it in 2016. It was incredibly accurate. Showed that Trump was losing and then that he was winning and then that he obviously was going to win. And this year they only did 3 needles: Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. It showed Florida early on that Trump was a big favorite before networks even were close to saying that. And then he won. North Carolina hasn't been called yet, but it's been probably Trump with 95% in. They're going to start counting again for hours and hours and hours. Georgia was, the way they estimate this is very likely, leading, toss up, and then all the same things on the other side. Georgia was likely Trump, 80+% for a long time last night. Around 2-ish in the morning, around that time, maybe it was 3, I can't remember totally, it flipped back to Biden because there's a ton of outstanding votes in Fulton County, where I lived for 5.5 years. It's all Democrats. And some other counties as well, DeKalb and some others. So that started shifting parts of the race. Good morning, Heidi. Hey, Mrs. Show. I'll get back to my point, but I want to answer a couple questions. Mike Thompson, one of the states count the early vote early. So we don't have one big election. We have 50 individual elections. And each state has different rules. So in the future, will they all try to be conformity? or have conformity and count the votes the same day or early, whatever, sure. We're in the digital age. There's ways to do it. But Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the states have been doing it for decades or centuries. So that's the rules. That's the way it is. Florida is kind of a more modern state based on what election-wise in the last, because it's such a diverse state. So they are able to count their results, the early vote, early in days or weeks before. Remember, it's COVID. So most states never have. We broke the record in so many states overall, days ago. Especially Pennsylvania, they have like 10 times as many mail-in ballots. The days they have 10 times as many mail-in ballots as they're used to. Michigan, Wisconsin, etc. So back to what happened. If you were sleeping, Biden came out around 2 a.m, gave a small speech, said we feel good about winning. That's kind of what he left at. Spoke for 4 minutes. Trump came out in the East Room. Like I said, I don't want this to be partisan, but this is just the truth of what he did. About 200 plus people in the East Room. I think I saw 2 with masks. His entire family, not masked. He came out and literally claimed victory when he couldn't. It's not up to him. And all networks, including Fox and others, all just destroyed the illegitimacy of what he was trying to do. It's a strategy that he basically said he was going to have, and others have said he was going to do this for weeks. So that was rebuked. It was fact-checked. He did win the election. There was a long way to go, and it still could be days before we have an official call. But I mentioned the Georgia needle on the New York Times, which is their needles. I don't know what they do. The algorithms are crazy. So I mentioned the needle. Then, as I said, it was a flip of the earlier part of the night. You started getting Arizona, that with Maricopa County, which is basically 60% of the state. And if you win that, you normally win the state. Biden was doing incredible there. R. Kelly was doing incredible. And Fox News, of all things, was the first to call it for Joe Biden hours ago. I don't think that CNN or NBC or some others have even called it yet. The AP, one of the more conservative organizations as far as calling things, they've called it, and Fox did. And it got so crazy that because Trump and the Trump campaign said that they were going to get these certain amount of votes, and they did buy it and all that stuff, that the election desk caller for Fox News, it's on my Twitter if you want to see it, at DanLeach971. The election desk caller went out and said, no, we know we're right. We're not wrong. And then you're not going to get 65% or whatever. So that was crazy. So Arizona's Biden's. Nevada has been called by a couple networks, but it's still out there because they have to count. They're not going to start counting votes again until Thursday, but it's been called. And then this is where everything shifted. And I said this earlier, and I'm going to say it again. I've always been fascinated by odds. Vegas and offshores and Europe, they're normally very good with odds. They're not always right, but they're normally very good. Unfortunately, they've had a rough go at it because of multiple factors. You can't, if you didn't know, you can't bet on the election in the United States, in Vegas or FanDuel in Detroit now that it's legal. You can only bet on it offshore. And this is the most bet on event in the history of the world. It's more than a Super Bowl, Final Four, World Cup, whatever. So one guy put, for example, $5 million on Trump yesterday morning. Like, it's crazy. So the bookmakers didn't take into account certain things, the mail-in stuff, but it also wasn't all their fault. Last night, when things started to flip, earlier, like around midnight and past, Trump, who was, let me just kind of briefly explain this. Biden went into yesterday minus $200. You lay 200 to win 100. It's called the money line. So, for example, if you want to look at an NFL game, that would be like a 7-point favorite. Lions minus 7 over the the Washington football team. So it stayed there for a while. It went towards 7, 8 o'clock, down to minus 180 for Biden, down to minus 140, down to minus 130, and then kind of even money. Then it went back in the next 20, 30 minutes around 9 o'clock to Biden minus 180. Then, when you started getting the vote reports early, the red mirage vote reports, where you knew there'd be big numbers for Trump in-person voting in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, etc. People that maybe didn't understand how it works, didn't understand internationally how to read the polls, or not the polls, how the system worked with the mail-ins, and how the mail-ins were going to be very heavily Democratic, started hammering, betting Trump because he was an underdog. And it went from Biden minus 180 to Trump at one point minus 600. Dees had 6 minutes. He had the under for me to say bookmaker, so I won. All right, good. But so it went to Trump minus 600, which is like a 14-point, 16-point NFL favorite. But then, as earlier in the night, as I explained, Trump caught Biden in Florida and North Carolina and Texas and others that were able to do their early vote early and then do the in-person vote. It started as Biden started catching up in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. The odds kept getting cut in half, down to 250, 200, etc. Well, the biggest development in the last, so it's 8:24 now. This started happening around 5 in the morning. Trump took the lead in Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, Biden took the lead in Wisconsin. Biden cut a 200,000 plus vote total in Michigan down to almost nothing. And Georgia, as I mentioned, is completely in play. The New York Times needle has it at 64%. So the odds, by the way, as I've been watching them literally all night long, it's been fascinating. Like I said, the odds makers are not the greatest of nights, but you have to obviously follow the money there. They're not going to put terrible odds out there. Joe Biden, as of now, and this has happened over the last, I would say, hour and a half or so, with the votes coming in Wisconsin and Michigan and some possibly good numbers in Pennsylvania, and Maine looking like it's going to go Biden, and then Arizona and Nevada basically being in Biden's camp, but not calling yet because these networks are being very careful, which they should be. And I'll get to my all legal ballots need to be counted in a second. Biden went to minus 150 to minus 180 to minus 220 to minus 280 to minus 320 to minus by basically $400. This is just me saying this. This is just my opinion. I'd like to, without, just with respect and humility, say I'm pretty good at following this stuff. I think I follow the right people and listen to the right, read the right things that are not necessarily partisan, that are just legitimate. Six-pack's coming well, by the way. Yeah, I need some more work, though. Good morning, Brian. Biden is going to be the next president. Now, it's a matter of how long it takes. It's a matter of when it's called. But it is completely flipped where Biden was a 70%, or Trump was a 70% favorite, so now Biden is 70+% or more. I got it on great, reliable, nonpartisan sources that Biden is definitely winning Michigan. He's a $2,000 favorite in Wisconsin. He's still an underdog, small underdog in Georgia, but he's a favorite in Pennsylvania. If he wins Arizona, Maine, and Nevada, all he needs is Wisconsin and Michigan. So as of right now, I am, in my opinion, 90+% sure that Joe Biden will win the presidency. And there's a few things I want to throw out here. Some people that are Biden fans upset it wasn't a landslide. Some people that are Democrats upset that they didn't win. The Senate's still alive, but it's not looking good. It's very tough to beat incumbents. It's not about running up a score. I know some maybe wanted that, but it's about winning. Winning is all that matters in that sense for either party. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say is that Trump did come out, and I said I want this to be nonpartisan. This is just the facts. He came out and falsely claimed that he had won the election. That is a total shot at our democracy, completely illegitimate and unacceptable. And I think that even some ardent Trump supporters would admit that. So there's two things I want to throw out there that I've been talking about all night. One is, as I said, we have the reverse of what happened early in the night, where Florida and Texas and others had all the early vote counted, and then Trump caught him. Now we have Trump with the early vote. Biden has caught him. I think there's only one answer to this question. And I can't imagine any of you, even if you're a supporter of Trump who is losing right now, would disagree with this. Every single legal, based on the states and how their laws are, legal, legitimate ballot that was postmarked on time or in on time, every single one of them should be counted. Is there anyone that would try to say, no, that's not the way it should be? Listen, if a signature doesn't match, if a ballot came in too late based on the state, if it's not a legal ballot, then it's not counted. But Trump basically was saying last night to not count the ballots, many of them that were for black people, because it was going to hurt his chances. Let me ask you this on the other side. If it was the reverse, if Florida and Texas and Georgia were early in the night and, if they were later in the night and Michigan, Florida, and Pennsylvania were first and they went the other way, like obviously Biden wins Michigan, Wisconsin, whatever else, he wins Pennsylvania. If the other states that ended up having Trump catch Biden, if they were late, you think that Trump would say don't count them? So it's really simple that you can't be a total hypocrite. If it's when it helps you, it's cool. If it doesn't help you, it's not. So if you flip the time zones and you have Florida and Texas and Georgia, North Carolina, whatever, you have those later in the night, and you have Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, first. Are you trying to say that the whatever side, which in this case, the Trump side, wouldn't want to let the ballots be counted? So there's no answer other than the right one for that. Every legal ballot needs to be counted, and it will. So that's where we're at. I wonder, Alex Nicholson, I love you, my Cascade buddy. I just wanted to have a discussion about this till I have to rest my voice because I've been on talking all night. But I'll just say this. This is the most important thing I think I can say. And I've tried to say this all throughout the night. We live in a very divisive time. We're living during COVID, a once in a 100-year pandemic. We have people that love Donald Trump. We have people that hate Donald Trump. We have people that hate Joe Biden. We have people that love Joe Biden. I don't like the word hate. I don't hate anybody. I try not to ever. You can hate whatever candidate you want. It's part of America, being American, free speech. You do that in Russia, Putin might put you in the gulag. So it's an inalienable right we have to say what we want and all that kind of stuff. But if we hate his supporters or Biden supporters, then it's chaos, and we're not going to get anywhere. And to me, that is the most important way forward. I know it's just my opinion. I'll say it again. Joe Biden's our next president. There's still 40+ million people that voted for Donald Trump. Some completely love him. Others are anti-Democrat. Whatever the reason is. If we don't listen to each other, if we don't try to come and find common ground, and I think many of you know that if you yell at someone during a fight, a spouse, a friend, a relative, whoever, you're not listening. If we don't calm our voices and listen to each other, we're never going to move forward. It's like we're living in two separate countries right now, red and blue. It doesn't have to be that way. Whether you liked Obama or not, he had a multi-state, multi-racial coalition that won a plurality of votes and popular votes in 2008 and 12. And whether or not you liked Obama or loved him or hated him, whatever, he was able to try to find a way to bring us forward. It can be done. It's not hopeless. Talking to my sister all night, my mother all night, many friends, guys like the D's. I know we're better than this. So it's all about, and once again, my opinion right now, it's not official. Joe Biden, as far as I'm concerned, has won the presidency. We'll see when it's official. He's going to be in the White House. And it's about trying to find common ground to get things done. Because if we don't, then what's the point? Whether it's loving, trying to get along with your neighbor and have a discussion, or be involved in your community, or help with mental illness and addiction like I try to do. We can all be better. And that's my great hope. Because if we don't, it's going to be tough. It's going to take some time. But if we don't put in that incredible effort, the great dreams during the Kennedy administration or Reagan or whoever it was, Clinton, Obama, whether you like the candidates or not, if we don't try to find a way to communicate and get rid of that fear we have of each other, then this country will be lost. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think there's enough people that have hope, that have love in their hearts, that don't want to create division, that don't want to create racial inequality, that want to be together. And hopefully we can find a way to do that. Because otherwise, what is the point? It's like, here's your sports analogy. What's the point of Harbaugh at Ann Arbor if he's 1-6 at home against Ohio State and Michigan State, can't win the big game, never go? What's the point? We've got to find a way to move forward. Mike Thomas, I appreciate the kind love. So if anybody's got, let's see what else. We got Brian Boggs, we got the D's, we got Scott Christie saying I need more monsters. Mike saying, why is Heidi get a good warning for the squad? I said hi to you, Mike. My sister weighing in, Angela Marie. I'm never tired. I'm fine. Ronnie Billett saying hi. Diesel saying, look at you delivering content early in the morning. Keep grinding. I will. Rob Traeger, Monster Sauce. Angela's, well, whatever. We're not going to get political, I said. Yeah, so if you have any questions, I don't want to stay out much longer because I really do need to rest. But yeah, it's been an incredible night. I mean, it is fascinating. It always has been. I don't care what side you're on to watch our democracy in action. Let me give you the latest on. All right, so Biden's down actually a little bit. It's a minus 350, but Trump, Biden's a minus $2,500 favorite in Arizona. It's basically even on both sides in Georgia. Big favorite is Biden in Michigan, minus 575. Huge favorite in Nevada, 650. Looks like Trump's, going to win North Carolina. Biden minus 180 in Pennsylvania, and Biden minus 1,400 in Wisconsin. So it's going to be a while. It could be days. And we got to be patient. And I think that there's no one out there that would try to sell the idea of all legal votes not being counted. Because what if some of the votes, if you're a Trump person, help Trump? Now it looks like Biden's, going to win the presidency. But if the roles are reversed, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, okay, don't count them when they hurt me, but count them when they help me. You can't do that. It makes no sense. And there are some that have brought up that this could get to the Supreme Court. And I will tell you right now, once again, my opinion, if Trump brought this to the Supreme Court and tried to get legal, legitimate ballots thrown out, the Supreme Court, in my opinion, even though it's in his image 6-3 conservative, there are still justices that care about the Constitution. They, I think, would rebuke them, and that actually might help the healing process. But if you wanted a blowout for Biden, it didn't happen. If you wanted a landslide for Trump, which is very unlikely, didn't happen. What happened is we had an election. We're still in the middle of an election. And one more thing I wanted to say is, some of you are going to say, it should be over an election. I know Trump has said that. Well, guess what? When Trump won last time, there were certain states that took weeks to count for their final tally. When the Senate race in 2018 went to Sinema, that took 3 or 4 weeks to be called. There have been so many different states over the last 100 years that have taken a long time to count. Weeks. You don't certify the electoral votes. And by the way, like I said, 50 individual elections until December. So it's nothing new. And anyone that tells you that it's just because of COVID or that the Democrats are trying to steal the election, it's all BS. This goes back forever. So back to my the major point. We need the votes to be counted. We need to let the clerks and the volunteers, my neighbor's a poll worker, we need to let them count the votes. They're going to count the votes. They're going to want, the ones that are not valid won't be counted. The ones that are valid will be counted. Are you trying to say that if you believe that Trump's right about stopping the count to disenfranchise people for no reason, then we're not going to let the military votes in? They come in, I think, up to a week after in some states. It's just silly. It's silly to say that. So I just want to close with this. I love all of you. I know we have great people in this state where I'm at in Michigan, this world where we're at, this country. And my great hope is that we just find a way to be there for each other and listen to each other. Because otherwise, there's no point. Nothing will ever move forward. Yes, there are some wackos on both sides of the spectrum out there. It happens in every country, in every walk of life. But the majority of us are good-hearted people, soulful people, hardworking people that don't want to tear others down. They want to build people up. I get calls like this all the time on 97.1 and all the time on the different shows that I do, where some people think I'm crazy or my point is crazy, but we do it from a point of respect. And there's going to be people that are upset that their candidate lost. There's going to be people that are happy their candidate won. But it doesn't mean that we need to lob insults at each other and make fun of each other. I know that there's certain elements over the last several years in this country that have brought more of that to the forefront. That's not who we truly are, the majority of us. So let's pray or look to your higher power, whoever it is, and hope we can find a way to move forward and that we don't become two countries. There won't be a race war. There won't be a civil war. But we could be red-blue instead of purple and together. So give your family and your friends hugs today safely. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and know that we can get through this. But we've got to be respectful of each other, and we've got to listen to each other. So I appreciate people. I've been up all night doing these, and we've got a lot of people watching, and I appreciate it. And it's the least I can do because I love what I do, giving my thoughts on things and bringing people together. And people have been very, very, very respectful, not making it partisan and just asking questions and talking. So thanks to all of you because I love doing this, and there was no way I was sleeping tonight or this morning. I mean, it's 8:40. I'm not going to bed. So be patient. Let all the votes be counted, and I'll see you soon. I love you all. Until next time, believe in the dream. Peace, sauce.